Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my apologies also for coming late, and thank you for accommodating me by moving the next question up in the line. Madam Speaker, the Duguvatu rural electrification program, Madam Speaker. Duguvatu is also known as Tuvavatu in Raki. And if you see the 2017-2018 budget allocation rural electrification, which was distributed to all the members of this parliament, you'll see it says Duguvatu Raki in the Western Division. At that point in time, the number of applicants were 32. The total cost at that point in time was $392,248, which is the assessment that was given by FEA. Madam Speaker, the work in fact had already started. As you know, that when we put up electricity posts or poles, we don't simply just go and plant it anywhere. There needs to be a survey done. There needs to be an assessment done. And this is part of course, the project. It's about 4 kilometers away from the Penang sugar mill. As it stands now, Madam Speaker, the quotation has been revised. It goes up to $458,000 now. And there are more homes that in fact have been included in this particular project. And of course, part of this is $37,000 that is actually allocated for house wiring. It's one thing to get the electrical poles down the new area, then you actually have the connectivity from the electrical poles down to the actual houses and the house wiring that needs to be done. Madam Speaker, the total cost of the project is stated is about $495,000, which would provide electricity to 37 households with approximately 185 people, including the elderly, parents, youth and children. The design projects have already been completed, and tender works are expected to be carried out this month in March after the surveys has been done. The work involved comprises the installation of 108 power poles and stringing of 23,000 meters of overhead power lines. The grid extension and house wiring works are expected to commence in May 2018 to be completed around about August to September of this year, and will be funded, of course, as allocated in this year's 2017-2018 budget. Madam Speaker, I'd like to just point out that there was a press statement that was issued by the NFP in this respect. And the media release said, Duguvatu families still in dark. Residents of Duguvatu Reki are still waiting the supply of electricity by FEA and the rural electrification program, despite a promise made by the Prime Minister last year. The Prime Minister, Honorable Varangi Bainimarama, had last year on his consultation visit, inverted commas, with his large entourage, reportedly made the commitment at Teteia Memorial School to provide FEA power to 37 cane farmers, families residing in Duguvatu area. And goes on to say where it is, blah, blah, blah. NFP leader led by Professor Bimal Prasad, General Secretary, met with residents of Duguvatu, residents making Talanoa session, raised concerns, including the failure by government to fulfill its promise to supply electricity to the residents. Madam Speaker, this is what you call cheap politics. What you call cheap politics, Madam Speaker. If the honourable members were genuine in actually finding out the correct information, firstly, I urge all members, read your budget papers.
Read it.
Read the supplements. If they knew about it, they could have picked it up easily if they're going to have proper Talanoa sessions. Take all this information with you and say, hang on, it's there, Tuvavatu Reki, $392,000. It's going to be done in this financial year. Or, if they had any doubts, they could have very easily phoned up the Honourable Prime Minister, phoned me up, phoned up the Minister for Infrastructure Development, and found out. As the Honourable Prime Minister does, when he actually goes in his consultations, when people raise issues, he actually picks up the phone and calls whoever's in charge of that and gets the update. They could have done that too. That's what you call true Talanoa session, Honourable Samisoni. That's what true Talanoa session is about. That's what you call bringing service to the public. Not playing cheap politics and going to these unsuspecting people, as they have been doing in Vanua Levu, regarding butter, regarding all sorts of things. Unsuspecting people, Madam Speaker.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. I think the Attorney General is once again extending his comments and bordering on accusations which are not true. We are still, he's talking about Vanua Levu, he's talking about Fiji sand. And we know what Fiji First Sun newspaper does. This particular issue, Madam Speaker, is what the people told the General Secretary, and he issued a statement. That's all.
Point of order is really not to the content of what is being presented. It's on the rules and procedures of the House. So that does not qualify under point of order, please, Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, thank you. As I was saying, again, procedurally they've got it wrong. Madam Speaker, as I was saying, if we are going out to members of the public, and if we want to give them the correct information, there is availability of the information, if they truly want to do that. And this is the update that I've given, and this is the information that's available in the budgetary supplementation, and they could have actually given them that information. What is actually happening now, Madam Speaker, is they'll say, see, we issued a press release, and now they're doing the electricity because we are the ones who went and raised it up with them. That's what's happening. Precisely what's happening. Madam Speaker, the fact of the matter is, as we've said on a number of occasions, Madam Speaker, economic development should be the objective of all members of this House. Electricity should not be politicized. Water should not be politicized. Roads should not be politicized, Madam Speaker, and that is a fact. So, Madam Speaker, not everything is politics. There is a thing called integrity. There is a thing called the truth. Honesty. Transparency, Honourable Nawaikula. All of these issues are part of outside the ambit of politics. Not everything is fair game in politics, Madam Speaker. This side of the House, led by Honourable Prime Minister as our leader, we don't view everything to be fair game in politics. We have standards, we have integrity, Madam Speaker, and this is the update on respect of this Duguvatu, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Rocky Liraki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In terms of rural electrification, in this particular question, Duguvatu, can the Honourable Minister give an assurance in terms of rural electrification in areas like Waisa, Terumai, Lumaiguna, and in Naitasiri? And there are so many other places still pending rural electrification, Madam Speaker.
Okay, we really are talking about the Duguvatu Rural Electrification Project at this time. But the onus is on the Honourable Minister.
No, Madam Speaker, when the Honourable Member raises Naitasiri, it always reminds me of the story that the Honourable Prime Minister told us. For years, the people of Naitasiri has provided electricity to the rest of Viti Levu through Monasabu. And all they could see was the overhead power lines over their heads, but they never got electricity themselves. It was the Beni Marama government that gave them electricity. You've said it so many times. You've said it so many times. Madam Speaker, the other issue of rural electrification was, Madam Speaker, but none of them did it. None of them did it. You see, this is the point. They just have this cliche terms. The Ratu Mara government did not do it. The SVT government did not do it. The SDL government did not do it. The Beni Marama government did it. The Beni Marama government did it. No matter how much they yell, the reality is there is unprecedented capital infrastructure development under the Beni Marama government and the Fiji First government. They need to look at the statistics. They don't know how to read statistics, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the fact of the matter is, the Honourable Member talks about specific areas. And let me also remind him that it was the Beni Marama government and the Fiji First government that removed the requirement to pay the 10% for rural electrification. As we have said so many times, there were so many villages, so many settlements, so many cane farming areas, people who were waiting for electricity, and people had to contribute 10% each. So if you had 50 homes, if 25 homes contributed the 10%, the other 25 did not, they did not get electricity. It was just hanging in there. This government, Madam Speaker, there's moans and groans, it's a fact. There are moans and groans, but it's a fact. And so their monies kept languishing in trust accounts. It was this government that returned the money to them, and they said you no longer require any deposit, any contribution to have rural electrification brought to your household. Madam Speaker, and never before, Madam Speaker, in the history of Fijian governance has a government presented in their budget a list specifically of which areas will get covered. in which area, in that financial year, and how many people, how many applicants are there. Never before. The areas that the Honorable Kiliraki is referring to, I urge him to see the list. If it's not in the list, Honorable Kiliraki, I remind you that we have another budget coming up. It'll probably be in that budget too. We have works planned out for the next 3-4 years, of course, because we'll be here for the next 3-4 years, and it'll get implemented in the 2018-2019 budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.